Hey everyone, Sarah Pacaro. Today's video is going to be about 5 things that can cloud your judgment. And everyone that I work with who's been in toxic and unhealthy relationships, emotionally unavailable, emotionally abusive relationships, describes that they have a really clouded sense of judgment, really difficult time judging or trusting situations, people, themselves, and realize there's a lot of judgment on themselves. So there are 5 things that we're going to cover today that may cloud your judgment. Whether you've been in a toxic and unhealthy relationship or not, you may notice, because that's not the only thing out there that can cause cloudy judgment. There are lots of things. And today we're going to cover the 5 biggest things and the 5 things that everyone I work with and connect with seems to be stuck on and unable to let go of or break free from. So the first one is fear. Surprise, surprise, right? Fear. Fear of failure and or fear of rejection. So there's this fear of the unknown, right? Even if we're in a situation that we don't like, we know about it in a backwards kind of way. It's very comfortable. And at least we know what to expect. If I get out of this situation, I don't know what's going to happen. And it's scary. At least in here in this bubble, I know what to expect. It's not as scary. I don't like it, but I know what to expect. But if I get out, what if I fail? And then what if I end up running back? In the context of a toxic and unhealthy narcissistic relationship, maybe many, many times you've already left. And then every time you leave, you end up coming back. I've even worked with people who got divorced and then ended up getting remarried and now still feel so stuck. And then they feel like they're a failure because they couldn't even get divorced and stay divorced. So this fear of failure or fear of rejection, and this is oftentimes what will cause people to get out and then isolate and not put themselves back out there, not give dating or relationships another shot because of this fear of failure. What if I mess up again? And this fear of rejection. What if they do put themselves out there and all the things that that toxic person said about me? I'm never going to find anyone as good as them. I'm not good enough. I'm used goods. Who's going to want me? All of those things can lead to this fear of rejection. And our fear of failure and rejection can be so strong. It can have such a strong bond and hold on us. That's this avoidance, right? The fight, flight, or freeze. That avoidance becomes the preferred option. To just stay frozen, just stay where you're at becomes this preferred option. To flight, to run away, to avoid relationships altogether, to avoid putting yourself out there can become the preferred option that clouds your motivation to get back out there and to pick yourself up and to try again and to keep moving forward. And this fear can temporarily protect you from this situation that your mind perceives as a threat or as harmful. But in the long run, it holds you down and it keeps you from trying. It keeps you from getting up and from continuing on. And what it does is create massive senses of self-doubt, the inability to trust yourself, to doubt your ability, and you're trying to let go and you're trying to grow, but it completely blocks that process from being able to occur because it keeps you stuck. So that fear of failure and fear of rejection. The next one that we're going to go over is expectations. Realistic versus unrealistic expectations. And there's a big difference. Phenomenal book. People ask me all the time, what book would I recommend? Expectation Hangover is an incredible book, one that I love. But what happens is your mind locks onto unrealistic expectations. In the realm of an unhealthy narcissistic relationship, this is hope and future faking. So it locks on to these expectations that if you stay, things will get better, that if you change, this person will change. Has you stay locked in this unrealistic expectation because you hoped for and you've dreamed of just having a healthy family, a happy family, not having your children come from a broken home, not having another failed marriage. And this expectation that if you go down that road, then you are a failure. So you hold on to these unrealistic expectations that you can just go to therapy with this person or with this partner or they'll get better. You can just talk to them enough so that they'll finally see and have this epiphany and this light bulb moment and go, oh my gosh, you were right. Let's work on this now. So when you hold on to unrealistic expectations, real expectations help you move forward. The reality, the knowing that if you're in a relationship with a narcissist or any kind of toxic person for that matter, is never going to step up, is never going to change, is never going to take responsibility. That's a realistic expectation to have. And when you hold on to that, then you can move away from that, out of that, and move forward, move on, let go, all of the things that people are always trying to do. But the expectations must be realistic. An unrealistic expectation is that you can do something to make someone else stop, that you can change them, you can fix them. Unrealistic expectations, what they do is they have this potential. They have potential to draw distorted conclusions. And those are, mental filtering, labeling, having this all or nothing thinking, this black and white thinking. Unrealistic expectations can have you draw distorted conclusions. Your mind is always coming to conclusions based upon past experiences, present experiences, and concluding it's going to be this way. And you have this expectation that it's going to be this way. And that can bring up negative emotions like anger, resentment, disappointment, feelings of rejection, betrayal, when other people in our world and our experience fall short. So when the narcissist says, I'm going to go to therapy and we're going to work on this, it's going to get better, I realize what I've done, and you hold on to this unrealistic expectation, you're let down. You become full of resentment, you become full of anger, and then you may have thoughts, am I the narcissist? Because then you begin to react to that type of abuse, all because you've held on to these unrealistic expectations. And that leads to your beliefs, and they're very, very limited. So you hold on to these self-limiting beliefs. Self-limiting beliefs is what they are. They're perceptions, right? Almost everything's perception. But self-limiting beliefs are a perception or an assumption that you have about yourself that limits you in some way, almost like an internal glass ceiling that limits you from being able to connect with, tap in, tune in to your full potential. Maybe you're tapping into partial potential, but because of that internal glass ceiling and the self-limiting belief, you have this perception and assumption that you're limited. Well, I can't do this. And then you fall into these if only or what if types of thoughts that, again, hold the limitations there. So I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not competent enough. Happiness, that's out of my control. I would be happy if this person would stop doing this to me all the time. And you're then giving that person the power and the control over how happy you are or aren't. So self-limiting beliefs plays a big role in all of this. And then, especially in the realm of either childhood emotional neglect, which I talk about a lot, or toxic, unhealthy relationships, narcissistic relationships, one of the other things that's at play is your triggers, your own insecurities, your own triggers. And the narcissist or toxic person will use and play on your triggers. They know exactly where they are, exactly where to push, how hard to push to expose them, to get you to react so that then they can maintain control and manipulate you and gaslight you. And they know where your insecurities are. So your own insecurities and triggers also play a big part in this, and your mental, emotional, spiritual health. And the thing is, when you're unaware of your insecurities or those triggers, what happens is then they get projected onto others. They get projected onto generally the people closest to you. They get projected onto your children, onto your partner, onto your friends, onto your family, onto the people that you work with. Your own insecurities and triggers are like an internal gun that's firing off, right? and you're projecting them onto other people. And this is an area where it's really, really important to spend time diving into, getting to know what are your insecurities, what are your triggers, what happens that has this occur. And then you can begin to lift that cloud when you understand this person said that, and then I felt because. Then you have a deeper understanding of where you're at, what your triggers are, what your insecurities are. The last narcissist in my life used to say this, and then I would have to go through that process. Why did I feel that way? I knew about gray rocking, and I knew about not engaging, not responding, but that didn't take away the feeling that I had when he would do or say something that triggered me, because it was connected to and attached to my own insecurity. And it almost always was, I'm not good enough, right? And it was, well, have fun with this, right? He used to threaten, living off a certain amount of money, whatever child support was. Well, have fun with that. And in the far past, there was this fear of, I'm not going to make it without him, because at one point in time, I was so codependent and financially dependent and emotionally dependent on him. So that was a trigger, and they use those triggers, and they use your own internal self-doubt and insecurities to get to you, to use you, control you, and manipulate you. And that enters into this conflict with you wanting to control all aspects of your life. So they're trying to control your life. You want to take control over your life. So there's this conflict, right? Who's in control? Who's got the power? Who's got the upper hand? This strong aspect to need to control everything in your life can cause a lot of that internal conflict. And it can feel really scary at times, because there are no times that are certain times. So uncertainty can cause that fear and cause that feeling of overwhelm. And it can lead you to judging how much control you actually have over a situation. And I work with people who say, I love control. Oh my gosh, I love control. That's why I do this and this and this and this. And I'm so scheduled. I'm so regimented. But really, how much control do you have over that? How much control do you have over the weather? A lot of mental health disorders are connected to control, like obsessive compulsive disorder. The need to control and check and do everything is all around control. Like fears, phobias are all around control. Like the fear of flying, for example. Well, you're not in control and you feel trapped. So some people develop the strong need to control every aspect of their life, but that simply doesn't exist. The ability to control everything in your life, it doesn't exist. And when you incorrectly judge how much control you have, that's where there's a lot of internal conflict. And it's important to remember that you can't control other people. You cannot control the narcissist or anyone else in your life. You can't control the future. You can only control how you react or how you respond in the situation that you're in this present moment. That's the only thing you can control. You can control your responses, your reaction, you can control your attitude, and you can choose. But if you have this strong urge, sense, and need to control all aspects of your life, you're going to always feel out of control. And therefore, you're always going to feel this conflict. And then it's going to cloud your judgment, cloud your thoughts. You're going to feel stressed, overwhelmed, anxious all the time. So what to do? Well, you'll always hear me say, do the inner work. And what does that mean? Does it mean watching videos on it like this? Does it mean, is there a journal? Is there a book you'd recommend? No, I recommend going on a journey within your mind. That's where all of the problems are. That's where all the conflict is housed, resides. And guess what? That's also where the solutions are to all of these problems. People can give you all kinds of advice, but majority of the time your mind's going to reject it and go, no, done that, already tried that. I'm glad to hear that that works for you, but that doesn't work for me, thanks. And then continue to move on and look for something outside of yourself, something else that has you feel better. So that can be a long, treacherous journey to go on when you're looking outside yourself for the answers. So The modality and the sessions and the services that I offer clients are ones that take them internally into your unconscious mind, because that's where your life resides. That's where your assumptions, experiences, and interpretations, perceptions reside. And if they're not working for you, why would you look outside of you for the answer? If they're not working for you, go internally and see, well, this doesn't work for me, get rid of that. Here's something that does, and then connect to that. So the process I use is hypnosis, is rapid transfacial therapy, and many, many different modalities and ways that we do that within our sessions. But if you're finding that your judgment is always cloudy and you're stuck, you're overwhelmed, you're exhausted, you're anxious, you've tried everything, many other modalities and methods, and they haven't worked, I'm not surprised, because myself personally in the past, and then everyone else that I work with, has experienced very, very similar things. So know that there is a very powerful method out there, and I'd love to talk to you more about it. So you can always find more information in the description below this video if you're ready to remove the clouds of those judgments, like swap out the lens. Just imagine, if you go snowboarding or biking or anything like that, and you're wearing these goggles and they're getting a bunch of debris on them, scratches and just dirty. It's like taking those off so that you can see clearly. That's what the experience is like. So again, I hope this video finds you and serves you well, and I look forward to connecting with you.